Good morrow everyone, SCIII here, and I had a longer intro planned, but this video ended up being like a half hour, so I'm gonna cut right to the chase. This is what's known as a trivia iceberg. The things at the top are more well known, and the things at the bottom are more obscure. And since I'm a big Soul Calibur nerd, I decided to make one and then make a video explaining it. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Geralt Is Canon. Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher 3 is a guest character in Soul Calibur 6, and unlike the series' previous guests, he seems to be canon to Soul Calibur's story. He plays a prominent role in Libra of Soul, which has been confirmed as canon, and he's also the only guest to have a Soul Chronicle. He's explained to have traveled to the Soul Calibur universe through the Astral Chaos, a realm that links various times and realities. Whether his escapade is canon to the Witcher universe is yet to be seen, but getting thrown into another world by a mysterious sorceress would only be, like, the third weirdest thing to happen to Geralt on any given day, so I don't see why not. The Huang silhouette teaser. This one is pretty recent. In the build-up to the reveal of the final DLC character for Soul Calibur 6, Project Soul showcased a distorted silhouette to kick up fan speculation, much like what King of Fighters 15 is currently doing on Twitter. Many fans correctly guessed that the silhouette belonged to Huang, mainly thanks to his sword. But there is also a strong case for Algol, because Huang's new feathered hat looked a lot like the Hero King's signature hairstyle, and both of them are known for long scarves. Viola is Amy. This was a Soul Calibur V fan theory that was made canon by Soul Calibur 6. It posited that the new character Viola was actually an adult version of Amy, who had been playable in the previous two games but was mysteriously absent from 5. In Soul Calibur 6, a young Amy encounters Viola's orb and glimpses a vision of her future, even gothier self, confirming that they are one and the same. But I mean, come on, just look at these two. The crazier fan theory would be that they aren't the same person. Soul Calibur V Nightmare is Raphael. I'm going a little out of order here, because this too was a Soul Calibur V fan theory made canon by Soul Calibur 6, so it makes sense to talk about it now. The host of Nightmare in Soul Calibur V was a new character named Graffiti. He looked a lot like Raphael, who conveniently had amnesia at the time, and he also had bats on his armor that called to mind Raphael's vampirism. In Soul Calibur 6, we see Raphael poison an old man named Graffiti and take over his title, thus confirming that he was Soul Calibur V's version of the Azure Knight. I guess that explains why he hated the werewolf so much. City Ruins Cameos. This refers to various Nier Automata Easter eggs on the City Ruins stage from Soul Calibur 6. You can spot 9S, A2, Emil, and the Red Girls, just to name a few. I've never played Nier, so I don't actually know who these people are, but I've been told that these are cool references. Soul Edge Secret Costumes. This is a simple one. The first game in the series, Soul Edge, had some secret unlockable costumes, including a bathing suit for Sophitia and a prototype nightmare design for Siegfried, both of which originated in cutscenes elsewhere in the game. Soul Calibur Tekken Shared Universe. This is the theory that Bandai Namco's other 3D fighting game, Tekken, takes place in the future of the Soul Calibur world. There's a lot of minor evidence for this, which could probably be a video unto itself, but the linchpin of the theory is the existence of a Yoshimitsu in both games. These Yoshimitsus are not the same person. Rather, the Tekken Yoshimitsu is the latest in a long line of Manji clan leaders to take up the name, a tradition first shown to us in Soul Calibur V, when the original Yoshimitsu died and was replaced by Yoshimitsu II. Arthur replaced Mitsurugi. This isn't something that happened in the lore, but in the real world. For historical reasons that I don't have the time or expertise to get into, samurai are a very touchy subject in Korea. For this reason, Korean copies of Soul Calibur 1 replaced Mitsurugi with an Englishman named Arthur, who was just blonde Mitsurugi with an eye patch. To be fair, he did have a unique story, and he would later be a bonus character in Soul Calibur 3 completely separate from Mitsurugi. Step guarding. This was an unintentional game mechanic that became an integral part of the competitive scene in Soul Calibur 2. Normally, it was not possible to block while moving, but if you quickly sidestepped and then immediately pressed the block button, your character would enter a blocking state before the blocking animation had actually begun, effectively allowing you to sidestep while blocking. This made movement in Soul Calibur 2 safer than in other entries, which was divisive among the fanbase. Not as divisive as some of the things on this list though, believe me. Cosmos. This is the name of a character from the Xenosaga series. Her costume and hairstyle were available to use in Soul Calibur 3's character creation mode under the name Type X equipment, making her a sort of partial guest character. The Doom combo. Wait, no, that didn't sound quite right. Let me try that again. The Doom combo! That's better. Hilda was infamously overpowered in Soul Calibur 4. The most destructive tool in her arsenal was a combo that allowed her to ring the opponent out even at great distance from the edge. Dubbed the Doom combo by fans, this earned Hilda and anyone who played her great scorn.
Just like that. Just like that.
And then you hear the boos.
The Doom combo absolutely destroyed Soul Calibur 4's competitive scene. Hilda was eventually banned from tournaments, but the damage done to the community was irreparable. Turns out the name Doom combo was pretty prophetic. Nightmare I-12. In Soul Calibur 6, Nightmare used to be the only character who didn't have an I-12, or an attack with only 12 frames of startup. Nightmare mains requested an I-12 so much that it became a meme in the community, one that even the game's producer, Motohiro Okubo, cheekily joined in on. But Nightmare got the last laugh, as his 236A plus G was eventually buffed to be an I-12. Wow, imagine trying to explain that sentence to someone who doesn't play fighting games. Spelling of Sung. Sung Mina and Yun Sung both had the spellings of their names changed in Soul Calibur 3. In Sung Mina's name, Sung was initially spelled S-E-U-N-G, while in Yun Sung's name, it was simply spelled S-U-N-G with no E. In 3, both Sungs became S-E-O-N-G. Further, hyphens were added to both of their names. The reason for this weirdness is that all of these are just different attempts at phonetically spelling a name from a language that doesn't use the Roman alphabet. Or a Japanese alphabet, for that matter.
Stop calling me the wrong name!
Next up, did you know that Soul Calibur is in Smash Court Tennis Pro? This is the first of many strange cameos that Soul Calibur characters have made in other Namco games. First on the Iceberg, that is, not first chronologically. Smash Court Tennis Pro Tournament 2, that's a mouthful, included Soul Calibur 2 newcomers Cassandra and Raphael as playable characters, along with a couple of Tekken fighters. Someone should try working this into the shared universe theory. Cloud planned for Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2 had a different guest character on each console. GameCube got Link from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Xbox got Spawn from Image Comics, and PlayStation was supposed to get Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII. But for whatever reason, the deal with Square Enix fell through. Cloud was therefore replaced with a Namco-owned character, Heihachi from Tekken. Perhaps as a jab at Square Enix, the next game introduced a great sword-wielding blonde guy named Strife and made him a big jerk. Datamines codenames. In the files for Soul Calibur 6 are 7 character codenames that stirred up quite a bit of DLC speculation in the community. They were Stone, Yell, Star, Snow, Reptile, and Yellow. Believed to be Rock, Hilda, Algol, Setsuka, Lizardman, and Huang, respectively. Only 3 of these characters ended up making it into the game, so the other codenames were either red herrings to throw us off, or, more likely, planned DLC characters that got scrapped. Pac-Man Fever. This was the name of a shameless Mario Party knockoff featuring various chibi Namco characters, including Astroth, who looked absolutely furious about it. Pac-Man better watch his back. Inappropriate Lizards. Soul Calibur 6's character creation mode has some objects that can be manipulated in 3D space and placed anywhere on your character. Naturally, people immediately used this feature to make some, let's say, well-endowed lizardmen. Normally I would just call this the internet being the internet and leave it at that. But the lewd lizards are on this iceberg because they were so common that Namco had to threaten people with bans from online play to make it stop. Talk about erectile dysfunction. Giant Pistachios. Meanwhile, others were using the character creation mode to make nuts of a different sort. By combining 2 giant turtle shells, you can make your character resemble an enormous pistachio, which is funny until you realize that makes your opponent unable to see what you're doing and gives you an unfair advantage. A few nefarious players even hacked the game to exceed the normal size limit on items and completely obscure their characters, which unfortunately turned much of the FGC away from the game in its early days. Soul Calibur 3 Arcade Edition differences. Soul Calibur 3 was the only game in the series to have released in arcade after it released on consoles, and as such, the Arcade Edition came with some upgrades. Most notably, Li Long, Huang, and Amy graduated from bonus characters to full characters, and had their movesets fleshed out. NSFW Soul Calibur V ads. I have to talk about these, don't I? Some Japanese promotional posters for Soul Calibur V consisted of extreme close-ups on Ivy and Valdo, and, not of their faces. They are fully clothed, or at least as fully clothed as these two ever are, and I'm still going to avoid showing them for obvious reasons. A lot of people are convinced that the Valdo one is a fan-made parody of the Ivy one, but I haven't found any convincing evidence of this, and also I really don't want to research it any more than I already have. Zasalamel in Soul Calibur V files. Some unused Zasalamel assets were found in the files of Soul Calibur V. This may be evidence that he was planned to appear in that game but was scrapped early in development, but it could easily just be a test model, a vestige of data transfer from Soul Calibur 4, or really any number of things. Legends was in Siegfried's head. Alright, this one's gonna take some explaining. Soul Calibur Legends was a Wii-exclusive hack-and-slash spin-off of the Soul Calibur series. Though it came out after Soul Calibur 3 and used everyone's Soul Calibur 3 designs, it was actually a prequel, or more accurately, an in-betweenquel, describing Siegfried's transformation into Nightmare between Soul Edge and Soul Calibur 1. However, it was totally non-canon, or so we thought. In Soul Calibur 6, we find out that Siegfried's consciousness was experiencing these events whenever Nightmare was in control of his body. This was all a plot by the new villain Iska Oct, who appears to be a gender-bent version of Iska Farkas, the main antagonist of Legends, because both Oct and Farkas are amalgamations of souls that have been devoured by Soul Edge and are now doing its bidding. Except they don't have bodies in the physical world, so they have to work through living malfested. But Soul Calibur's influence saved Siegfried. Also, during naming scheme in Moon Tattoo implies that his body is one of them, but his body wasn't malfested. How does a werewolf way to end it? Sorry, I get carried away with fighting game lore. Ungol Fear manga. Soul Calibur 4 featured bonus characters designed by artists from outside Project Soul. One of them, the alien Ungol Fear, was designed by Mina Yoshizaki, who later incorporated her into his manga series Kuroro Gunzo, making her a sort of retroactive guest character? Spawn vs. Scorpion. This is a really cool Easter egg found in Mortal Kombat 11. In one of the pre-fight dialogues between Spawn and Scorpion, they will reference their guest appearances in Soul Calibur 2 and Injustice, respectively.
You've been to other dimensions.
Each has had its own injustices.
Maybe that's why my soul still burns.
Does your soul still burn is a phrase frequently used in promotional material for the Soul Calibur series, especially Soul Calibur 6.
I have one question for our fans out there. Do your souls still burn?
Tekken 3 Graffiti. In the background of the Punk Alley stage from Tekken 3, you can see graffiti of the word Soul Edge. You know, if Tekken is indeed in the same universe as Soul Calibur, that means someone just spray-painted the name of a historical artifact on the wall, which is the nerdiest kind of vandalism. North American Valdo censorship. In European and Asian copies of Soul Calibur 1, Valdo had a codpiece depicting a bull's head that was removed for the North American release. Seems pretty tame compared to what Valdo looks like now, but I guess it was a different time. Cell phones still look like this. Bayonetta planned for Soul Calibur 5. Like Cloud, Bayonetta from, well, Bayonetta, was at one point planned to step onto the stage of history, but was scrapped somewhere along the way. Unlike with Cloud, Project Soul didn't seem to have any issues acquiring the rights to use Bayonetta. Rather, her moveset simply proved too difficult to implement. The whole thing wasn't a wash, though, as Bayonetta's lead character designer, Mari Shimazaki, collaborated with Project Soul for some of Soul Calibur V's costumes. Soul Calibur the movie. No, don't get your hopes up. This was announced in 2001, but it never got off the ground. It would have been directed by Sammo Hung of Ip Man fame, and would have followed two Shaolin monks on a quest to destroy Soul Edge. The Soul Calibur wiki has a few screenshots that are supposedly promotional material for the movie, but it's difficult to fact-check because the domain for the official website expired and was snatched up by some Dubai-based company that wants me to buy a crane, lease a car, learn electrical engineering, and become a Caribbean dual citizen. Seems legit. Scuba diver. This refers to Inferno's ending from Soul Edge, in which the cursed sword fell into the ocean and was discovered 400 years later by some random scuba diver, who presumably turned into a modern-day nightmare. A new Tekken character, perhaps? Lizardman ate Kratos. This is yet another Soul Calibur V fan theory, though it's more of a joke than anything. Soul Calibur Broken Destiny, a PSP port of Soul Calibur IV, added Kratos from God of War as a guest character. Then, in Soul Calibur V, Lizardman got a major gameplay rework that borrowed many of Kratos' moves. On its own, this wouldn't be a big deal, but Soul Calibur V also introduced an important piece of lore for Lizardman, which was that he now gained the abilities of any creature he consumed. Suddenly, things aren't looking so good for the Ghost of Sparta. To be fair, it wouldn't be the first time Kratos was reptile food. Or the last. Pro Baseball Famista 2011.
Wow! If I had a nickel for every time
A couple of Soul Calibur and Tekken characters were playable in a sports game.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Ashlot and Scheherazade are canon. It's unclear if Soul Calibur 4's bonus characters are meant to be canon, but at least these two are more or less confirmed as such in Soul Calibur 6. Feeble Sestimus automatons like Ashlot and Hidden Village clan members like Scheherazade are both shown to exist. Also, Scheherazade's lover, the Wolf, has a page in the museum. We're probably never going to see these characters again, but it's nice to know they exist. Cassandra's crush on Hilda. There was a fourth wall-breaking manga/instruction manual released before Soul Calibur 4, in which Cassandra tried to win Hilda's affection by showing her the features of the new game. It, didn't go so well. Dante Rumor. By far one of the most well-known and oft-repeated pieces of Soul Calibur trivia is that Dante from Devil May Cry was originally planned to be in Soul Calibur 3. So why is it so deep on the iceberg, you ask?
It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened. No way. We got you. Not a chance.
If you want to hear the full story, I would highly recommend Stumblebee's video about busting this popular myth. Ridge Racer. This was a Namco racing game in which there were parts manufacturers named after Keelik and Astaroth. I, don't really have anything funny to add to this one, so... Algol and Soulcalibur 2. Unlike the similarly worded entries on this list, Algol wasn't a secret character or a scrapped character or anything like that. Rather, there was a region named after him in Soul Calibur 2's Weapon Master mode, in which you fought a charade standing in for the ghost of the Hero King. Headless Frederick. Siegfried's deceased father, Frederick, has never been more than an NPC in the Soul Calibur series, but early concept art reveals that Project Soul considered including an undead version of him as a playable character in Soul Calibur 1. If he had made it onto the roster, we can only assume he would have been called Dedrick Frederick Got No Hedrick. Dampierre is a Mishima. I know what you're thinking, and no, this is not a crackpot addition to the Tekken Shared Universe theory. Although, maybe it should be. Rather, this is a joke about Dampierre's moveset. He possesses a Dragon Uppercut, a Middle Kick, a Hell Sweep, and most importantly, a Wind God Fist, albeit under different names, which are the hallmarks of the Mishimas from Tekken. Trading cards. Soul Calibur 1 had some tie-in trading cards creatively titled the Soul Calibur Trading Card Collection. They're mostly just character renders and official artwork that can be found elsewhere, but they're pretty neat. Necrod's voice. In Soul Calibur 2, the character Necrod spoke in a strange, alien-sounding tongue. However, if you reverse the audio, you'll hear that it's just a distorted version of Mitsurugi's voice.
I've had enough of you! I will defeat you no matter what!
Wonder if that means his voice is different in Japanese. I would check myself, but that would mean digging out my PS2. Outcast Odyssey. This was a mobile card game developed by Bandai Namco that had a ton of guests from the Soul Calibur series. Unlike the Soul Calibur 1 cards, these featured brand new artwork depicting modern and retro costumes alike. It shut down before I got the chance to play it, so I have no idea if it was any good. Makishi. This is how Maxi's name is pronounced in Japanese. It's noteworthy because it's listed as his real name even in English versions of the Soul Calibur 6 museum. Was this a translation error, or have we been wrong about Maxi's name this whole time? Queensgate. The Bandai Namco produced visual novel Queensgate Spiral Chaos featured Ivy as a guest character. At one point, she ran around trying to inject this guy with a bunch of syringes because, anime, I guess. Soulcalibur. This is probably my favorite thing on the whole iceberg. There was a fishing pole peripheral for the Dreamcast aptly known as the Sega Fishing Controller, designed to be used for the game Sega Bass Fishing. But one fateful day, prompted either by immeasurable boredom or a deep misunderstanding of what Soulcalibur is, someone tried using the Sega Fishing Controller to play Soulcalibur 1, and it worked! Thus began one of the FGC's greatest traditions. Universal Fighting System. That's right, there are even more trading cards to talk about, but this time they aren't owned by Namco. The Universal Fighting System is a collectible card game featuring characters from all sorts of fighting games, including Soul Caliburs 3, 4, and 6. It is Wednesday, my dude's tweet apology. For reasons beyond mortal comprehension, there is a popular meme that consists of a frog saying it is Wednesday, my dudes. In March of this year, Bandai Namco decided to join in on the fun by posting this caption alongside an image of Lizardman, since he's the closest thing they have to a frog. Unfortunately, people took this as a sign that Lizardman may be coming to Soul Calibur 6 at long last, which he wasn't. Namco promptly clarified that it was nothing more than a dumb meme, apologized for misleading everyone, and deleted the tweet. Wovama and Cue Takagi. These are a couple of Frankenstein's monsters hidden deep in Soul Calibur 2's code, who can only be accessed via cheat devices. They both use Cassandra's character model, but they use the wrong fighting styles and the wrong weapons for those fighting styles. They are presumably placeholders for characters who were scrapped very early in development. We know absolutely nothing about Cue Takagi, other than that she may have been named after Cassandra's Japanese voice actress Reiko Takagi, but Wovama was briefly mentioned in an issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly, where she was described as a young blonde woman. Eminem. We'll have to take my word on this one, because it involves copyrighted music that I don't want to risk playing. The background instrumental to the song Hellbound by Eminem is taken straight from Soul Calibur 1, specifically the track Sacrifice from Maxie's ending. It also samples the announcer saying "Welcome back to the stage of history," and Mitsurugi saying "You'll be in hell before me." Apparently there's just something about Bandai Namco's fighting games that appeals to rappers. Setsu and Seidu. These are the names of two characters who are at one point planned to replace Taki and Mitsurugi in Soul Calibur 2. Unlike Wovama and Cue Takagi, we actually know a little bit about them, specifically what they look like. Both the initial Soul Calibur 2 reveal trailer and this piece of official concept art offer us glimpses of these would-be fighters. Setsu's design seems to have been repurposed for Taki's alternate costume. Honestly, these two probably should have been above Wovama and Cue Takagi on the iceberg, since you don't need to dig through the game files to find them, but it's too late to change the iceberg now. Young Sung abducted by aliens. In Soul Calibur Broken Destiny's fever dream of a story mode, Hilda and the gang found Young Sung nonsensically raving about being experimented on by a messenger from space. This is a callback to Algol Fear's story mode from Soul Calibur 4, in which she captured Young Sung to study him. Monkase. This is the name of the Sung Dojang student who got killed in Huang's bad ending. That's it. He was on screen for a grand total of 20 seconds, but he'll live forever in our hearts. Edgardo. This is the final scrapped character we're talking about today. We know the most about him out of any of them, so once again he probably should have been higher up on the iceberg, but Edgardo would have used a dual-sided saber and called the Egyptian temple stage his home. We don't know much about his story, but apparently his parents would have been killed by Nightmare and he would have become an ally to Siegfried. Although we've never seen it, he supposedly had a completed character model and was only cut because Project Soul couldn't iron out his moveset in time. Elements of his design went on to inspire Algol, and his weapon is now being put to use by Grow. Arby's. This is the name of an American fast food sandwich restaurant chain. Oh, you already knew that? Well, I bet you didn't know that they made a giant cardboard nightmare. The official Arby's Twitter often posts pop culture-themed paper crafts made out of spare food packaging, which has included the likes of Hilda and even the Holy Sword itself in the past. But they decided to kick things up a notch for Anime Expo 2018 with a life-sized statue of the Azure Knight. High Score Girl. High Score Girl Extra Stage is a Netflix original anime about gamers, which is one of the nerdiest combinations of words ever spoken, that featured Soul Edge in its third episode. It even included some actual gameplay footage of Valdo and Rock. Nopolis. This term actually could refer to a couple of things from the Soul Calibur series, but the one I had in mind was this little fella who could be found on Ivy's stage in Soul Calibur V. He was a larval form of Soul Edge that was being experimented upon by Ivy. The new Legends of Project Soul points out that neither Naupolis nor Charade from Soul Calibur 2 are truly evil, despite being pieces of Soul Edge, implying that the Cursed Sword may not be pure evil either. I don't buy it though. He's planning something. He's got that look in his eye. Seme Kam Dungeon Ruderaga. This nonsense, that I definitely pronounced wrong, was an obscure Game Boy Color game that supposedly included Nightmare as a guest character. I say supposedly because I watched all 2 videos that exist about this game and saw no trace of him. It seems plausible because the series to which this game belongs has been referenced in Soul Calibur before, but the total lack of evidence makes this easily the most obscure of Soul Calibur's many crossovers. The Big Bang Theory. In episode 18 of season 8 of... This thing got 8 seasons? What is wrong with people? In episode 18 of season 8 of The Big Bang Theory, the following scene plays out.
Guys, our topic is encouraging women in science. Can you at least play a less sexist game?
This is a gross misrepresentation of the Soul Calibur series, so let's just move on to our final entry. New Legends of Project Soul bonus features. In the new Legends of Project... Okay, maybe they had a point. And with that, we have officially reached the bottom of the iceberg. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I bid thee farewell. Closer look at the outline of his shield. Does it remind you of anything? No? Well, what if it was blue, and had a horn in the center of it? In Tekken, its ability to juggle opponents makes it an invaluable combo tool. But in Smash, knocking your opponent into the air is the exact opposite of what you want for a combo. So instead,